What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the Sheehan Show with me, Sean Sheehan, here on Sherdog.com. And today, I am bringing you a recap of the PFL Super Fights Battle of the Giants Brace for Impact card, which went down on October 19, 2024 in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. And I sit here in a very stormy west of Ireland here today, but I come to you and you know what? The mood is a bit stormy, but it's a positive storm. It's one of those ones where you sit down in this chair and I'm booming to talk about these fights, because usually, you know, I sit down here an awful lot and I'm like, you know, was it a bad card? Was it a good card? Was it a great card? You know, no matter whether I'm talking about PFL or Bellator, UFC or Cage Wars, whatever I might be talking about. But to me, this one, for me personally anyway, maybe some people would disagree, I really, really enjoyed the big fights in this. And let's say there was 4 big fights. I really enjoyed 3 of them, and the other one was interesting in a way that we can kind of chat about, which is fine, which is, to me, is a success, and which I think to the PFL and Bellator and all the, you know, Don Davis and Pete Murray and all those will be a success. Now, we'll see what the pay-per-view numbers and all of that did down the road, but I think the card itself absolutely delivered. There's one or two things I know that we could maybe complain about, but I don't. You know, this is a solid 8.5 out of 10 card. You know, very, very, very good. You know, the main event delivered what a heavyweight main event that's called Brace for Impact probably should deliver. Although if it went a slightly different, it could have been different. We'll chat about that as well. The co-main event delivered a classic, and you know, your big prospect coming through also delivered. So perfect, and exactly what they would have wanted. Now, when you put a card on pay-per-view, it can be. Look, if it doesn't deliver, it's a big risk, and you've people say, I can't believe I paid this amount of money for that. And even if it does deliver, people are still saying, well, you know, that's what I paid for anyway. So I suppose it's hard to get compliments on it, but still, I think they do deserve it. And I don't look at it that way now, to be honest. I look at it whether, you know, take every card on its merits, and this one, I think it did deliver, and it was very, very good. I think the broadcast was very good. The commentary was very good. Dan Hardy's just the best in the game, having him there. And I think Randy has been made better by Dan as well. I think Kenny did a great job last year, and I'd actually love to see maybe Dan and Kenny together if that was a possibility as well. And I think Tyron Woodley has done a fantastic job. I think Sean O'Connell is very good. You know, sometimes, you know, I think for some people, I could see why some people love him, and I could see why some people maybe don't like him. But that's the gig, isn't it? You know, Maranello was the same, I think, and Goldberg was the same. I think everyone kind of loves Anik, so that's a little bit different. But overall, very, very good. All the production went well. There was, you know, once I say a slight audio glitch where someone was kind of talking over it, but I think from what PFL were a couple of years ago, I think they've improved an awful lot, and that was very, very good as well. So, yeah, that was my thoughts of the overall card. So let's get to the fights and let's talk about them. Let's talk about the main event, Francis Ngannou versus Renan Ferreira. And you know what? This fight kind of went very, very like a lot of people probably suspected. I think a lot of people suspected it to be a bit of an exchange early. If no one was knocked out, Francis might change it up and get a takedown, and then we go from there. And that's kind of exactly, you know, what happened and how this fight went. And just to run through it, so it started off with a leg kick from Francis, and then Ferreira landed leg kick 2. There was a wild exchange, but really nothing much landed. Now maybe I'll go back again and maybe something did land, but nothing too hurtful anyway. Both of them walked through it, even if something did land. And then it was straight away Francis went for the takedown. He got into half guard first, and then it was very odd, something you don't see much in MMA, and Dan Hardy, I think, called this very well as well. I mean, maybe it was Randy, but he climbed into the guard. So he started in half guard, climbed into the guard, and then Ferreira, with his long legs, grapevined the legs of Francis when he was on top, so the Francis couldn't posture up, couldn't get on his knees, and couldn't land big ground and pound, which was very, very smart and a really good tactic from Ferreira. But Francis was able to untangle the grapevine, get up on his knees, and get up towards a position where he could land some ground and pound. Before he did that, just as he was getting into the position, Fahey caught him in or went for a triangle, caught momentarily maybe, but I don't think he fully got the ankle across the back of the knee, and I don't think, there's kind of maybe a triangle armbar, so I don't think he got the armbar either, so got out very, very quickly and then landed some ground and pound from on top. Then as Fahey moved, Francis kind of took the back into the ride position, and then there was loads of ground and pound, big shots. The commentary were kind of rolling, the fight's over, and after that, there were a couple of shots to the back of the head, but there was no warning from the ref. He let it go, and he stopped the fight then. He gave Fahey as much of a chance as you'd want to give anyone in that position when they're getting absolutely bungalowed by, by Francis Ngannou, and the referee stepped in and stopped it. Now, could he have stopped it and said, Warren Francis, stop throwing shots to the back of the head? Before that, he probably should have said, Francis, watch the back of the head, I know. Again, I'm literally moments after the card finished recording this. I don't believe he did. He definitely obviously didn't stop it and warn him. So I think, often, and I think this fight especially, we look over those, and I often have, I do a Q&A every week, and people are messaging me like, why do some people pick out this fight to talk about shots to the back of the head, and in another fight they don't? And that definitely is a thing, especially after this fight with Francis coming back and the speech afterwards, which we'll talk about in a second. But it's definitely something I want to mention. It's, look, if you're Hina Fahey and you're thinking this is the biggest fight of your life, and you look back at that and you think, well, look, 3 of the last 5 or 6 shots that landed were directly to the back of the head without me moving too much, and in a position where a referee would usually warn or maybe stop the fight to check on the health of someone and before they restarted again. So I definitely think that is fair. I think by the time the referee moved around maybe to a position where he could have seen one, I think the fight was basically already over. What I would criticize more than anything else is, and it's not a criticism really, but the referee just wasn't in that position to see the first couple of shots to the back of the head, I think. Not necessarily that he was in the wrong position. He just happened to be in a position where he couldn't see him, and by the time the last couple of blows came, I think the fight was basically over then, and the referee rightly stepped in and stopped it. So, it's a tough one. It is a tough one. If we had a proper review system in mixed martial arts, it might be one of those things that you review, but it's definitely not going to happen in the current system anyway. And even in another system, it mightn't. But, with that said, Francis went in and he did exactly what he needed to do. Took his opponent down, didn't get hit, and blasted him out of there within the first round. And afterwards, he spoke and he was very, very emotional. Obviously, his son Kobe died a few months ago, and he obviously dedicated this fight to him coming into it. Like I said, I want to fight to kind of honor his name, and I wouldn't want. He said in the preamble, kind of before the fight, that he wouldn't want his son dying to be the reason why he retired, or he wouldn't want the memory of his son to be, oh, that's the reason why Francis isn't fighting anymore, which is a very brave and honourable stance to take, to be honest, and to be able to be willing to put yourself in that position to prove that point. It's incredible. It's really incredible. And you know what? He went in there and he did it, and he honoured him afterwards. He's mentioned his name. He said he never wants his name to be forgotten, and it was really nice and really beautiful and really touching. And kind of in the middle of all that, they didn't really talk about what's next much or anything like that, but he kind of hinted like, I don't know what's next. All I was thinking about was now. And a lot of fighters say that, when they're getting to a title or they're going to a big fight or anything, but it was true. It was really true for Francis. Like, this was almost the end point of like, I need to move here to have something to move towards. You could really feel that from the way he spoke before and after the fight. So if we're to talk about what's next, maybe that's a podcast for next week or next month, and we can talk about it more there. But for this night, Francis Ngannou goes in there and he blows Hina Fahey out of the water within a round and takes the belt. The co-main event, we had the women's featherweight super fights world title. It says down here on the line. I was just assuming Cris Cyborg is still the Bellator champion, isn't she? I just assumed this would be for the Bellator belt, but no, it was 5 rounds for another belt. And a very interesting fight, I'll be honest. A very close fight. A lot closer than I thought coming in. I gave in the betting show and I gave my pick before. Look, a lot of the things that happened I thought would happen, but I thought it'd be in a more clear and concise way for Cris Cyborg. And I think that is, that's what makes Larissa Pacheco a good fighter. What she did against Kayla Harrison was really make an unclear fight, right? Kayla could have won that fight. I think anyone who goes back and watches it would acknowledge that. But she just sticks in there and she does things that you wouldn't expect. She does things that other people can't do when they're fighting against Kayla Harrison or when they're fighting against Cris Cyborg or Amanda Nunes. She does them. She sticks in there. She takes the shots. She hits you back as hard as you hit her. As I said, very few people can do that. Now, we get into the fight here and we'll see where the downfall came. But it was a performance that was a tricky fight for Cris Cyborg to come back into at 40 years of age, after being out for a year, after being boxing, at the latter end of her career. And did Cris Cyborg look like she did in her prime? Absolutely not. I don't think so. I said the same about Amanda Nunes in her last couple of fights. I do think for the first time ever, if she went into another fight next, and depending on who it's against, I could see myself picking against her. I would never pick Cris Cyborg unless she was fighting Amanda Nunes. Like this fight, I obviously was very strong, gave it as one of my bets and everything on Cris Cyborg. But now let's say she was to fight Kayla Harrison next time, even though I don't think Kayla looked amazing, you could see a world where you would pick Kayla or maybe another person against Cris Cyborg. But that's being a bit negative, I suppose, and looking at the ill more than than the good parts of the fight. But I definitely think Cris would have won that fight way more comprehensively if this was 4 or 5 years ago, and that's only natural. So let's get to the fight. Round one. Cris Cyborg came out jabbing, a right hand red in the face of Larissa Pacheco straight away. They went into a clinch. Then Cris landed big knees in the clinch. Then she got a massive double leg slam, went for a Von Flu, got into side control, landed a big forearm to the face. And as she got up, she landed a heavy kick, which rocked Larissa Pacheco. And you're thinking at that point, okay, this fight's done and dusted. Let's get Francis warmed up in the bag. We're going to be 1 round here, not 5 rounds. But it didn't happen that day. There was a clinch. And what changed this whole fight really was what happened in that clinch. I saw Larissa Pacheco throwing an elbow, and I believe that's what caused one of the cuts. Now, there was another cut, so I'm not sure where that came from, but maybe there was another elbow as well in there. But in the first half of this fight, Larissa Pacheco landed maybe those 2 shots. And a couple leg kicks and stuff like that, but she was getting battered in there. But those cuts really changed the fight, really changed the ebb and flow of the fight massively. Cris landed an elbow off her own, then she got a double leg herself into the guillotine, which Larissa Pacheco held on to for a while, but was never on really. Cris got into half guard then, landed some ground and pound, and as she got up, she was bleeding before that, but she was very much bleeding after that. 1-0 to Cyborg, I think, after the first round. I've come on here a few times recently and I've criticised Cutman, but the Cutman here for Cris Cyborg did a fantastic job. Absolutely brilliant job altogether. After the first round, but especially I think after the second round, she didn't bleed much really after that. In the second round, Pacheco came out looking way more confident. They both landed a few jabs each. A right hand from Larissa Pacheco was her best shot of the fight so far. And then a leg kick dropped Larissa Pacheco from Cyborg. Cris then got into the clinch. Landed a back fist, did Larissa Pacheco, and then she was kind of going forward more than she had been previous to that. There was a trip takedown in from Cris. She got into half guard, landing some good ground and pound, and that kind of, if the fight was a little bit even up until then, I think that took it for Cris. But they did get up, both landed some nice shots late, and it was a close round. But I think it is 2-0 to Cris Cyborg after that. The third round, the closest round of the fight probably. Although 3 and 4 were close, I would say. Leg kicks from both of them to start off. Both landed right hands. Cris then backed off out of distance, and I'll tell you what, I kind of predicted this in one of the shows coming in. And Pacheco reacted badly. You know, she did the Max Holloway thing, like, come on and fight me. But that was never going to work. And then, you know, Cris came in and landed a lovely right hand. And you're kind of thinking, oh, God, she's done her up a kipper here, you know? If people in America know what that means. I'm not even sure I know what that means. Like an English phrase. She's done a right kipper. But anyway, a right hand from Larissa Pacheco landed after the right from Cris. And then Larissa Pacheco watched... she lashed in a kick. She caught a kick that Cyborg had lashed in, and she dropped it to the ground with her right hand. And that was a big, big moment, I think, in the fight. Larissa was on top, got into guard. She landed the big elbows. Cris was kind of holding on the ground a bit, and there was ground and pound, but not too much. Now, I said that was a close round coming in. I was wrong on that. It was the second and the fourth that were close. This one was a dominant enough round for Larissa Pacheco. She definitely won that. So it's 2-1 at that stage. Either way, but I had it to Cris Cyborg. As the wind blows here, I think we're getting the tail end of that hurricane, if you can hear that in the background. But anyway, it should be okay. Round 4 started with a Larissa Pacheco leg kick and then a front kick from her as well. But Cris Cyborg landed a hard combination, and there was a lot of back and forth here. There was a leg kick from Pacheco. Cris landed a left hook. Both landed some good shots in an exchange, but it was a right hand from Pacheco that was the best shot until the next shot came from Cris Cyborg, when she landed a big overhand right, which was kind of, you know, your old Ryan Nelson windmill type of overhand right, and then she landed another shred after it. And I was thinking at that stage, okay, Cris is after getting her second wind here a little bit. Pacheco landed a hard right hand, but it wasn't nearly as hard as those two, especially the first one from Cyborg. And then Cyborg landed a lovely left hook, landed another lovely combo. There was a late high kick from Larissa Pacheco, but you know, close round, but I think Cyborg did enough. Maybe 2-2, but I had a 3-1 at that stage. And in the fifth was all Cyborg. If there was ever any doubt, there's no doubt about it after that fifth round. Cris jabbed her way over the low kicks of Larissa Pacheco. She landed a big left hook. It was all kind of leg kicks from Pacheco early. And again, she landed hard, but Cyborg landed harder with her right hand. You know, there was kind of a bit of a drop from Cyborg with a right hand, but then the ground and pound was stopped by the referee warning of shots to the back of the head, which is funny considering what happened in the main event. Now, I think the warning was correct, but it did change kind of the ebb of the fight where Pacheco was down. She was hurt, but not hurt massively, but she was. I think she could have been finished there, but again, good refereeing. If this had happened, and I believe it was Brian Miner, I can check that here, but if this had happened in the main event, I think it probably would have been the right thing to do, and indeed it was. Brian Miner, it was Dan Merglata in the main event. After that, Cris got landed a body kick. Larissa landed a nice right hand, but there was another right hand from Cris Cyborg, and then another. And then at this stage, towards the last minute, 90 seconds of the fight in the round, Cris was just picking her shots well. She got a takedown late. Pacheco did roll out, and there was a bit of a wild exchange late, and both landed. But it was the fight to Cris Cyborg, and to me, she definitely won this fight. I had her 4 rounds to 1. I believe all 3 judges also had her 4 rounds to 1, and then she wins. Afterwards, she said 2 more fights for her, so she'll probably be fighting Sarah Collins over in Bellator, and then we'll see who's next after that. I'm sure maybe, you know, if they were to do a Sinead Kavanagh Liam McCourt fight, maybe the winner of that would fight her, or you know, you never know who else is kind of hanging around there, but yeah, they'd want to get those fights going pretty quickly if Cris wants 2 more. So great win for Cris Cyborg. Again, you know, not her best performance, but I think probably the best performance she can give right now, and dominated, you know, someone who's probably top 6 or 7 best in the world. So very, very good win for Cris Cyborg. Then we had and do you know what? Just because maybe it didn't sound like that, it was a really good fight. Really, really good, close back and forth fight. I had it 4 rounds to 1, but that doesn't tell you. You know, I think maybe you could get it by the analysis of the rounds individually I was given, but it was a really good fight and a really close fight. The Eblin Edwards fight, not as good, not as close. Jesus, was really frustrating. Not to start at the end, but you look at the 5th round for Fabian Edwards, and he goes straight forward and he attacks Eblin. and he doesn't get taken down. He stops all the takedowns. He's brave and good. And okay, Eblen is a bit more tired, but if and I've said this to Fabian, I've interviewed him many times, and I goes, here, Fabian, you're one of these guys that everyone says, let your hands go. And, you know, he acknowledges it. And, you know, but every fight, it's the same. It's just, and it's one of those, he's one of those fighters that, like, you wouldn't say that to a fighter who's bad. You wouldn't say that to a fighter who doesn't have the ability. You'd never think of asking him the question. But he is so good, and you could see there's so much ability, but there's a guard up. I don't know if it's a coaching thing or a mental thing or whatever. Honestly, I think it's a coaching thing, because I don't think I like, you can see in the 5th round, he's mentally well able to do it and physically well able to do it. But yeah, I think I don't know. He could really do, I think, with going somewhere that just gives him a different look. I think Renegade are brilliant. They're a really good camp. But I feel like he could go to a worse camp who'll just go out there and tell me, here, go, Fabian, let your hands go. You know, and it might benefit him. But anyway, another solid title defense here from Johnny Eblen. Round 1 started, both landed some leg kicks. Eblen landed a high kick and a right hand. Fabian, obviously fighting out of the southpaw, was landing his uppercut, and he was doing well with it. You know, he was trying to pick Johnny, but Johnny landed a right hand, rocked him off balance with a 1-2, and then got into the clinch. Fabian was landing some leg kicks, but then Johnny Eblen kind of just burst through the middle, lifted him up, slammed him down, and from that point on, the next 7 to 8 minutes were a bit of a blur, to be honest, because it was just Fabian to get up, he'd immediately get mat returned. You know, I have it down here, mat returned. I had it once, I had it twice, and then thrice was the end there in round 1. In the second, you know, Eblen was just on top for large periods. Fabian defended well on the ground, but they both looked very tired towards the end of it. And, you know, it was a nice 1-2 from Fabian late, but you're thinking at that stage, if someone is going to kind of, you know, fall their way through this fight, who's it going to be? It's probably going to be Eblen, and that's, I think, what happened. You know, at the start of the 3rd and the start of the 4th, Fabian was kind of touching him a little bit more, right? Doing well at drawing him in and countering him at the start of the 3rd. Eblen landed some nice hooks off of both hands. Fabian landed that famed uppercut again, and then he was Fabian was picking him off here, right? But I wrote down picking him off minimally in my notes. He wasn't picking him off in a way that would win the round massively or anything like that. It felt like he was picking him off in a way that if you added another 70% of your strikes, or added another 3 to 4 strikes in a minute, you could be badly picking him off and beating him up. It just wasn't there. You know, and then, look, it's easy for me to say, because my next thing in my notes is Eblen gets an easy takedown, you know, and he indeed did. Gets it against the cage, but he pulled him away from the cage, and a stat came up then, I think Dan Hardy might have said it, 8 from 8 on takedowns. 8 from 8 on takedowns. That's just not good enough at this level. Not good enough at all. I did very, very little, though, when he got the fight to the ground. The fight got up. Fabian landed a few kicks, and he landed a knee, and he landed nice in the exchange until Eblen clinched late. Now, with all my giving out there, Fabian Edwards won this round, because he landed more early, he landed more late. When Eblen took him down, he did nothing. So I believe, I haven't seen the scorecards yet, but I believe all 3 judges scored this for him. Now, again, I haven't seen him yet, but the commentary didn't seem to think, and I'm usually on board with it, especially with Dan Hardy, but they didn't seem to think he won that round. But for me, definitely. Round 4, an Eblen round, loads of Fabian leg touches early, and they're just touching, kicks to the body, kicks to the leg, kicks high and stuff like that. And then he flung in 2 left hands, and I'm thinking, okay, good, here we go. Here we go. Neither of them landed, but here we go. And then Eblen landed a few kind of short shots inside, and they were really good. And you know what? Those are the type of things that Fabian needs to do. You know, a couple of brave short shots inside. Even though Fabian did come in and counter him, they set up a single leg for Johnny Eblen. He got a takedown, got into side control. You know, Fabian landed a couple of knees and he got up, but there was a mat return up. And, you know, Fabian hadn't enough done before that, and Eblen won the round. Now, the 5th round was another one to start out. It was an eye poke on Johnny Eblen. Then Johnny Eblen threw a right hand and landed a head kick. Then it opens up for Fabian when he stopped the takedown. Then there was a kick low from Fabian. So at this stage, you're kind of thinking, okay, this round, I don't know, maybe 90 seconds, 2 minutes in, you're thinking, right, not a whole lot has happened. Fabian's probably a little bit ahead here, but he needs to get going. And he did. You know, he threw a front kick, landed a nice knee. Eblen landed a nice right hand. Fabian stopped another takedown. He was putting on the pressure. Stopped 2 more takedowns. You're thinking here, does Eblen look a bit tired? And he did. Eblen landed a right hand, but Fabian landed left hands and loads of elbows. For the first time, Eblen has looked tired for a lot of the fight, but the first time one of his right hands looked tired, got to the clinch, you know, but an elbow from Fabian hurt him in there again. Fabian was just eating him up at this stage, landed some knees to the body and some huge shots left, but it just wasn't enough. Johnny Eblen was able to hold on and he was able to win. No, they might get mad at me, but I think there might be, and now before I say that, I scored the fight 3-2 to Johnny Eblen. I think it was, you know, I think that was the right score. Was there a case for a 10-8 in the 5th? Like, Fabian had all the offense and landed all the stuff, and Johnny Eblen's right hands were not as powerful as in the first couple. No, I don't think so. I don't think it was. But if there was a 10-8 here, I wouldn't have gone insane over it. Either way, it would have been a draw, and I don't know if we want to see that fight again. So, a good win for Johnny Eblen. Again, not his best performance. I don't think this fight or the Impex Angle fight were his best performances, but tough matchups, and he got through them. Then we had, this is my biggest criticism of the whole card, to be honest. Featherweight fight between Hussein Kadi Magamayarov and Zafar Mohsen. Why was this fight here? Who are these guys? Like, no, they're not bad fighters or anything like that, but this should not have been on the pay-per-view. Make it a 4 or 5 fight pay-per-view, whatever it was, and no one would have cared. No one put this in the prelims. It was a fight. It was a okay fight. Anyway, I'll brief you through it. Mohsen was pushing forward. Nobody was landing much. Kadi got a takedown. I'm going to call him Kadi. His name is Kadi Magamayev. Kadi Magamayev. I'm going to call him Kadi for the sakes of this. He got into half guard, but they got up. Mohsen had a hip throw, but Kadi was kind of still holding his position against the fence. He got out. Mohsen landed a couple of leg kicks, but was too muscly to move. Although at the start of the second, he landed a wheel kick, or he threw it anyway. I'm not sure if he landed it. A flying knee, and then Kadi got a takedown, but Mohsen lands on top. Very good at kind of moving his hips and getting on top. Up to the clinch, got a hip toss again, and lands in guard. And Mohsen landed some elbows and half guard, but he gets cut himself. 1-1 for me at that stage. Mohsen landed left hand to start the third. Push kick kind of staggered Kadi a little bit. And then Kadi went for a takedown. They battled for the takedown, got to the clinch, broke up. Mohsen landed some leg kicks. And then there was a couple of big shots from him. Kadi failed on a takedown, which led into the half guard from Mohsen, who landed some elbows from there. So pretty close fight, but as far Mohsen got the win in the end, and I think that's right. You know, I think Kadi Magamayev was the favourite coming in, if I'm not mistaken. But good win for Mohsen there. And fair play to him, he got in the pay-per-view. Fight of the night, performance of the night. Give him 50k, give him 100k, give him all. Paul Hughes, big news. Paul Hughes, the pride of Lavey in County Derry in Ireland. What a performance. You know, let me be a little bit biased here for a second, but God almighty, I've watched a lot of Irish fighters fighting down through the years, and we obviously had big nights for Conor McGregor and Ian Gary and, you know, others as well, Danny McCormack and Sinead Kavanagh, aforementioned, and Liam McCourt, and Neil Seary and Paul Redmond and Rhys McKee, and I'm probably leaving out many more. Artem Lobov, who headlined the card, Paddy Hoolan, who headlined the UFC card. Big nights for a lot of those lads, but this is right up there. You know, we leave McGregor aside. You know, Ian Gary has won some great fights. I suppose you could put that up there with that as well. But this, you know, if you're to leave McGregor aside, is this the best ever? You could say that. AJ McKee, I think in anyone's book, is a top 5, top 10 anyway. Whether you want to call him a lightweight, featherweight, whatever it might be, guy in the world, without a shadow of a doubt, I think. And Hughes went in there and he put on an excellent performance and beat him. And you know what happened? I'll tell you what the people were saying afterwards. And this wasn't just Irish people. This was a lot of people on Twitter that I read, not just replies to me and stuff. They were giving out about it being a split decision. That'll tell you, if you hadn't seen this fight, how well Paul Hughes performed and how the fight went. So I have a lot of notes on this, so strap in and let's get through it. So started off with an AJ McKee low kick, and he landed a lot of them. There was one stage he showed the back of Paul's leg, and it was very, very red. But Paul defended his punches very well. Got the head moving early. You could see within 15 seconds of this fight starting that Paul Hughes was confident. Because you don't do what he did, and that's move the head, come up with the left hook afterwards, whatever it was, without being confident. He absolutely was. AJ was landing some front kicks. He was throwing hard at AJ McKee. I thought AJ started very, very well, landed a nice elbow and then got into the clinch. Then there was kind of 2 cup checks by AJ, and then Hughes landed a big knee to the body. Paul kind of turned in and he landed a big left hand on the exit as he got off of the clinch, and then Paul landed a knee to the head as AJ tried to wrestle him, and that was a big, big shot, and I think it rattled AJ a small bit, but he kept fighting very, very well. Hughes got a great scramble to get out of there, and his scrambling was fantastic all night. AJ was on the ground and Hughes was standing above him, and as you're watching it, a tad bit of bias comes in here saying, Jesus, Paul, get away from there, let him up. But he landed some good shots there. The only problem is he almost got caught in a knee bar. Then Paul landed on top in half guard, and Paul was standing over him, and he kept standing over him. And, I think he won the round probably because of it. So you can't criticize it too much. But at that stage, I think all the Irish fans sitting home are probably saying, get away from him. He's dangerous on around Paul. But late, Paul landed a huge knee and then a right hand. And I think that definitely sealed the huge round for Hughes. Second round, much, much closer. AJ was kind of falling over his strikes, and Paul was looking to counter him, but didn't have a load of success early. And I think AJ realized he was leaving himself open, so he started kind of throwing those front kicks from far away and leg kicks, and then Paul was waiting for the counter, but it wasn't being given up. Smart. Now, this coming in was something I thought about, like, this is the reason Paul Hughes won't win this fight, right? and I did the bets, and I picked AJ McKee and all of that in the bets. Now, I didn't pick him on the show. Let's have that right? But the experience level, the adjustment at this point, and AJ made the adjustment here that only a guy with his experience should have, right? So keep that in mind here. And the midpoint of the second round, AJ McKee was winning the round. He got out. He was just landing the better. But then there was a big combination from Paul. AJ landed a body kick, hard left hook by Paul. And again, then Paul slipped and AJ got on top. And Paul did manage to get up. But close round, I personally gave it to AJ McKee. So I had it 1-1. At this stage, you could have had it 2-0 Paul Hughes. But the third was definitely a Paul Hughes round. AJ was throwing some flashy shots. And I think the reason for that was almost an adjustment to the adjustment, because he needed to fight on the outside. He realized he couldn't come in because Paul's counter was so good and his defense was so good, which I touched on from the first 15 seconds of the fight, was just on. AJ tried a double leg, but he couldn't get it. He got to the clinch, and Paul Hughes' takedown defense was exceptional all night. AJ kind of fell to his back, and then Paul was landing shots on top. They got up, got a trip for AJ, but up again into the clinch. Hughes defending very, very well, and AJ was just kind of holding him, and you're thinking at that stage, like, is AJ just kind of hold on here for dear life and hope to win the decision? But they got out, both landed a nice shot. Paul landed a lovely uppercut, and then there was another one. Then there was a right hand from Hughes, and then there was another one, and then Paul sprawled really, really well as the fight was coming towards the end. But he did get taken down at one stage, but he got straight back up. He got mat returned straight back up. Couple of small knees from AJ in the middle of that, but Hughes did get out, landed a couple of shots late, and then landed a big knee late as well. So if there was any doubt, which I don't think there was, I think that knee late was a really good shot for the judges and a really good shot to land. And Paul Hughes comes out, he wins the split decision. As I said, a lot of people were giving out that it was a split decision. Paul Hughes was the better fighter. I think AJ McKee would probably acknowledge that as well. And a really, really top win here for Paul Hughes. And what did he do afterwards? He called out Usman Ngannou, and you have to make that fight. There's no shred, no doubt about it. You beat AJ McKee, you have to fight Usman Ngannou next. Now, I'd like to just stress one thing here as well, and we're fucking already 5 minutes over my allotted time. That doesn't matter. I'll keep going. Paul Hughes, I don't think he'll win it, right? I don't think he'll win it, but he should be nominated for Fighter of the Year. And I'll tell you why. This isn't the number 4 ranked guy fighting the number 3 ranked guy. This isn't number 7 ranked guy fighting the number 3 ranked guy. This isn't the number 15 ranked guy fighting the number 3 ranked guy. This is a guy who is a prospect, who's just come. If he was in the UFC, he'd fight 7 to 8 fights to get to an AJ McKee level fight, and we have to win them all. He skipped all of that, went straight in at the very top and won. This is what they talk about with Bo Nickel fighting Adesanya. This is Shemaev back in the day fighting in Usman. None of those ever happened. They all had to win fights. Bo Nickel at the moment is talking about having 3 or 4 more fights to get to that level. Paul Hughes skipped all of that, went right in at the top and won. If he's not nominated for a Fighter of the Year, now, okay, Alex Pereira is going to be very hard to beat. I don't think he's going to win it by any means, any stretch of that, but he should be nominated in everyone this year. What a win for Paul Hughes. Absolutely exceptional, and he did his country proud. Absolutely fantastic. Then to the undercard. We finished off even with Rafael Starts versus Marcus Brino, which ended late on the third round. Marcus Brino walked out to Ramin Zohadi's Game of Thrones team. He might have walked out to the Renzo Castamere with the way it ended, but he started really, really well. Stotts came out as a southpaw, landed a hard inside leg kick and hard jab. And you think, okay, here's Stotts is going to kind of walk this, but Brino got very aggressive with a couple of big 1-2s in a row. Stotts was hurt by a right hand, and it was hurt in a way that, like, is he hurt? And then he kind of got hurt again, and you're thinking, oh God, and he failed to wrestle twice. He threw and landed a body kick, but there was a right hand by Brino, just rocked him and had way more on everything else. And then the pace slowed again. What I talked about in the middle round of the Hughes AJ McKee fight happened here. Stotts slowed the pace. He started landing his straight shots, started landing body kicks from the outside, long shots, went for single leg takedown, got him down for a second, got him to the clinch. Takedown to the back for Stotts. Didn't get the choke, but got into side control and around it. And you're thinking at that stage, okay, Brino won that round, no doubt about it, 10-9. But Stotts weathered the storm, and then Brino was looking tired. And it was all Stotts from that point. And Stotts landed a body kick. Brino jabbed nice to the body. He was very kind of even on the feet. Through 2 minutes, not a whole lot landed, but to me, that was favouring Stotts. And then Stotts went for a takedown, got his back against the cage, went to the back right position. Stotts gets on top, gets up and drags him back down, taking the back. No hooks though, went for the crucifix, got the crucifix, but Brino hooked the leg into the guard, and Stotts ground and pound, definitely 1-1 at that stage. And then the third, both landed hard. Brino landing a couple, but Stotts looks quicker, just way quicker, which is the opposite to the first. Stotts, hard body kick and 2 left hands. But then, very strangely, Brino went for a double leg in the middle of it and got it. Right, took him down right in the middle. But Stotts went for a guillotine. It was no good. Then Brino went into the half guard. Went into guard first and then into the half guard. And then the big mistake, Brino went for an arm triangle, but he got immediately swept into half guard. Stotts got on top in guard, landed some ground and pound, took the back, and rear naked choked him in the third round. So that was a good win for him then there. Then we had a lightweight bout between Makasharip Zainukov and Dedrick Sanders. I'm going to refer to him as Maka for this, because why not? There was a hard battle for the kind of the hand space early. Makasharip, I call him Makasharip, so. Was kicking to the legs and body early, went for a right hand. Sanders, again, like the last couple of lads was fighting on the southpaw, and he was letting it go one shot at a time here. Makasharip, a left hook wobble Sanders, but then Sanders landed a hard body kick of his own. Makasharip landed a left hook, and then he went for the guillotine after overthrowing his shot, transitioned down a single leg and got the takedown, which was really good and really smart. He was in the right position for a while, stood to the clinch until he tripped him again towards the end of the round. Striking was even enough to start the second. Makasharip head kick, and Sanders landed a nice left hook, but Makasharip did get a takedown from a kind of a stupid kick from Sanders, got into guard, eventually takes the back, was in that position for ages towards the end of the round. Then in the third, there was striking again early. Makasharip won the exchanges, and Sanders was off range on a left hand. And then there was a couple of shots, one to the body and one high from Makasharip. And he was just picking his shots well here. Sanders landed left at the midpoint of the round-ish. And Makasharip got a takedown, double-legged him. Side control to the mount, to the back. Almost rear naked choked him. Back to the mount. Got the Dagestani handcuff. Massive ground and pound. Flattened him out. Could have been stopped. And then he escaped to the mount. Massive shots. And that to me was a 10-8 there. So a pretty easy fight to judge in the end. And Sanders lost that one to Makasharip Zainukov via unanimous decision. The last two fights, then we had Ibrahim Rahimov, who was pretty dominant against Nacho Campos. Ibrahimov, the brother of the Man United Ibrahimov. So he came out kicking early, then tried for double leg very, very quickly. Didn't get it, but went to the body lock, and that was no good either. So he landed the McGregor shoulder in the clinch, then got a trip, takedown. He went to take the back, but Nacho got up. Matt returned twice, which was a theme of this. Also, you'll notice, right, a lot less clinches because there was elbows allowed in PFL. So take note, PFL. Please continue to do that. He took the back, went for the body, got the body triangle. Funny enough, Nacho Campos actually went to grab his toes, and the referee didn't allow it because you know small joint manipulation. But Ibra still kept the back and stayed there mostly for the rest of the round. The second round in, Ibra closed the distance. Massive knees to the body from Nacho, and then Nacho took the back because Ibra went for a takedown, but Ibra quickly got back on top, got into the quarter mount for just minutes on end. Nacho wanted to stand up, he didn't get it. There's a few shots late by Ibra, and then a few hard elbows from Nacho. Round 3, just a quick double leg this time for Ibrahimov, into the quarter mount again. He just kind of elbowed the tie here for a while. Ibrahimov took the back, but Nacho scrambled out briefly, and then Ibra had the back again, standing against the cage. He stayed there for about 90 seconds, and he tripped. He tripped into the middle of the. Got a trip into the middle of the cage and takedown. Ibra took the back and went for the body triangle. Ground and pound, mount, late, and elbows were very good towards the end of the fight, and he won the clear decision there. And then in the first fight of the night, great comeback of the year contender. Started off, it was between Tariq Ismail and Taha bin Dawood. Ismail was quickly into the clinch and got a body lock takedown. Mission control from Taha, went for a gogo plata and normal plata, but obviously they don't work, so it didn't land. Ismail got into side control, into the crucifix. All Ismail on top. Taha got and then went for an inverted triangle, but was out. He stayed on top, and a heel hook from Taha late was no good either. Then into the second round, closed the distance immediately. Double leg for Ismail in half guard. Loads more ground and pound at this stage. Now, the first round was relatively close because Ismail didn't really land much on top, but in the second round he was landing loads. So much so that Brian Miner warned him not once but twice. Then Taha scrambled, but he couldn't get out. This is when he was warned again. Ismail picking his shots very well. Got into the full mount there. And Dan Hardy described how he got out as the jailbreak, where he put his two legs inside the two hands and pushed him back down. I wonder, could you hear my shoulder there? Can we go again? No, we can't. But jailbreak, Dan Hardy called it. Heavy ground and pound on top. But what happened then? Taha went for the triangle, put it on, and he got it. He got the tap at 3:51 of round 2. Absolutely fantastic triangle, and definitely comeback of the year contender after he lost the first, and he was heavily losing and almost finished in the second. So that was it. Let's run through the decisions in full before I let you go. Round 2, 3:51, submission via triangle for Taha bin Dawood against Tariq Ismail. Then we had 2 decisions in a row, one for Ibrahimov against Nacho Campos, and one for Makasharip Zanukov against Derek Sanders. Rafi and Stotts rear naked choked Marcos Brenos in the third round at 3:01. Big news, Paul Hughes, representing Ireland, defeated AJ McKee via split decision. Zafar Mohsen defeated Hussein Kadimagomiev via decision as well, as did Johnny Eblin, who got the unanimous decision over Fabian Edwards. And in the top 2 fights, it was a decision for Cris Cyborg Justino as well, who defeated Larissa Pacheco over 5 rounds. And in the main event, Francis Ngannou returned after almost 3 years out to defeat the 2023 PFL season heavyweight champion in round 1 at 3:32. With some ground and pound. All right, everybody, that is it from me. If you're not already, please click the subscribe button. Please like this. Please leave a comment below whether you like it, what you want to change, what you'd like to add it, or if you just want to say, good man, Johnny, thank you very much for bringing us this. Please do that. So, yeah, shout out to Ben, who edits the videos, Mike, and everyone else at Sherdog.com, and shout out to everyone who always tunes in. We leave it there. Thank you very much. Congratulations to all the winners, and we'll see you all next time.